Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of AirWaves. My name is Josh Rosenberg and I'm the second Vice President for TWU Local 556. Today we're going to be talking to a few of our Domicile Executive Board Members. Each base has a board member that is elected within that base to represent the members, to help them out with any problems they have. So we're going to talk to them today and find out a little more about what they do. Stick around. So in addition to all the other work that the union does on a daily basis, each base has an elected representative to serve the members of that base. And today we have three of them here to talk a little bit more about what that position is and what they do on a daily basis. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So
Hey, Josh.
Today we have Kristie Scarbrough, who is from Dallas, Patrick Paladino from Orlando, and Edward Marq from Houston. So everyone is a Domicile Executive Board Member, also known as DEBM, and we're just here to talk a little bit about what that looks like. Sound good?
Sounds great.
Fantastic. Okay, so to start out, let's talk about what a DEBM is and what you do for your members on a daily basis. So, Kristie, we'll start with you. What's a DEBM?
Well, a DEBM is a Domicile Executive Board Member that is elected for a term of 3 years by the people within their base. We serve as a liaison, and we handle all types of issues, advocating for the flight attendant with management. We bring issues to the board, concerns. We vote on those issues, but we are the direct point of contact for the flight attendant.
Mm-hmm. So anything that's going on a base level, if a flight attendant is having an issue, if they have a question about what they need to do, usually, they can reach out to you and you can help them out. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what does that look like on a daily basis? Edward, so like if a member calls you, like what, say they had a no-show or something crazy happened. So what how are you going to help them in that situation?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's, there's all these different types of options that somebody has. They can use the chat on our TWU app. They can call the office. Sometimes they'll call the in-flight base.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have somebody there that that you trust. And that usually is what a DEBM is for that base. So they'll call, and in your example, they have an issue with a no-show. So we'll talk about what were the circumstances behind that no-show. Was it weather? Was it a flat tire?
Mm-hmm.
We'll go over what the contract says, what the protections are, and what their options are. Is it something that we can grieve? Then we can go down that path, and we'll start from there. But basically, it's to support that member and to find out what options they have, if any.
Mm-hmm.
And that may lead to other questions. Are they okay on attendance points? We'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a good relationship with your DEBM will result in a better representation for whatever is causing that situation.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So it sounds like when someone does reach out with an issue, you kind of direct them which path to go down. Like maybe they ask something on the app, or maybe it is something where it needs to be grieved and they need to go down that path.
Right. And our grievance process is very complicated, but it's also very long. Our grievance team is full of very talented, professional people. But going down that grievance is, as I said, it could be very long,
Mm-hmm.
but if it can be resolved at a local level, that's the best outcome for all of us,
Yeah.
And it could be resolved by just a simple conversation, because a DEBM, they'll have a relationship with the base managers, with the supervisors, and those relationships will be very effective when you can explain the circumstances behind something like a no-show. Could it be resolved by a conversation? If that happens, you could avoid a grievance altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it sounds like, and Patrick, we'll go to you on this. It's the DEBM actually being in the base and having that personal relationship with the flight attendants like that, it seems to give a comfort level to reaching out, right? Because when you reach out to the union office, it's like, I don't know this person. I don't know who I'm talking to. They're all very good at their job. But a DEBM being in the base, it's like you already have that personal relationship. You know that person. So why do you think that is really important for people to, reach out to the DEBM that they know and trust?
Well, I think it's always easier to talk to somebody Like like you said, even when I call the office, I don't always get the same person, and I don't know who's going to pick up the general union line. It could be one of anybody on the grievance team. When you call my direct line or Edwards or Kristie, you're going to get us each time. We're the only one that answers that particular extension. So it gives you a much more direct way of talking to someone in the union. We all deal with the same issues. We've all gone through grievances. We've all gone through no-shows, not waking up on time on an overnight. Like, we know what that feels like. And so it's just a little bit easier to talk to someone that really understands it. And like Edward said, like, a lot of times we can call the base, and when I call and talk to the base and go, hey, and basically go to bat for a flight attendant, because the base knows me, and if I'm not going to say that if I don't feel that it's true. I'm not going to go to bat if I think the circumstances weren't what they should be, or if it is a special circumstance that it really should be addressed that way. It should be addressed as different than just a generic no-show. And so that carries just a little bit more weight talking to a base manager. And so it's just different when you have a personal relationship with those people versus just getting whoever happens to be on the other end of the phone at that time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And, for those of you that don't know, for a while, I was the Oakland Domicile Executive Board member, right? So I know also from the flight attendant's perspective, let's be honest, a lot of people don't know what the union does. They refer to it as the union instead of their union. So when they can reach out to someone that they know, that they've flown with, that they trust, I think it's easier to build that connection with I know this person, I fly with them, I'm part of the union too. Like, it feels a lot closer knit when you actually have that relationship, right? So,
well, and also too, like, the majority of the time I fly to Dallas 1, 2, 3 times a month. When I'm leaving Orlando to come to Dallas, a lot of times that's a crew starting their day. So it's an Orlando crew. So they see me even when I'm not working as a flight attendant. Hey, you're gonna run into your base rep more often on an airplane than say they would you. Like, if Orlando flight attendant isn't gonna run into you nearly as often as they will me.
Right.
And so they do get to have eyes on us and talk to us in person, and like a face to a name versus just a random person on the union website.
Yeah, gotcha. And so when these members do reach out, right, when they do have an issue or they have a question or just kind of whatever it is, what's the best way for someone to reach out, like the most effective way? I know it's different if they're having a discipline issue or they just kind of want to know what's going on with the local, but what's a good way for people to effectively reach out to their DEBM? Kristie.
Since I've been on the board now a little bit longer than some.
Than these guys.
So back then we had the option of getting a union phone or getting a puck. I chose the puck.
Wi-Fi puck, right?
So therefore all my calls were forwarded to my personal cell. So a lot of people have my personal cell number. Now, other DEBMs choose to use their union phone, but for me, it's just easier to give out my personal cell. Also, my union number is forwarded to my personal cell. In addition to that, email, of course, and that's on our business card. But
or it can be found on the website or the app.
Yes.
Yeah.
But to directly get a hold of me or anybody else, I would say call initially, because I answer my phone 24/7. So, because we don't know, our jobs are so unpredictable. We do not know if somebody is reaching out with an emergency that needs to be handled immediately, or if it's something minor. But regardless, we need to be available.
Yeah. And is that kind of the same for you guys? Is it, phone call, text, email, is that kind of the best way to go? Or?
In my experience, if a member needs your support, they'll find you, and I can choose. I prefer a certain number to be used, or my cell phone if they know me, or my email, but I've got it in support questions on Facebook Messenger. I've received questions on WhatsApp. I've received questions as a note in my box. Some people will just find a way to try to get a hold of you, and I'll just try to be open to all sorts of communication.
Yeah, much like Edward said, pretty well any medium we can be reached at. I don't know any DEBM that's not available pretty well 24/7, like Kristie said. The numbers that are on the union website, you don't have to call them. You can text us on those numbers. A lot of people have our direct cell phone numbers, and if you don't, someone probably does. I've had people, hey, so-and-so gave me your phone number. I have this going on. Can you help me? And they're doing it because it's iMessage and they're on the plane. And so it's the only way they can communicate with me at that time. And so it's easy to help somebody when that's the only way you can.
Yeah.
And so there are so many different avenues, especially this day and age, to get a hold of somebody. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, text message, iMessage, phone calls to our personal cells or the union cell numbers. So yeah, we're pretty well always available.
Gotcha.
If we're needed.
Right. And when people, so there's lots of ways to reach out, right? So what advice would you give to someone who's a little like hesitant to reach out to their DEBM, right? Is there a reason they should feel that way, or like how do we encourage people to reach out to their DEBM if they really need something? Edward, what do you think?
I'm not sure, Josh. I don't think I've heard of anyone that's hesitant to speak with me. Perhaps I've encountered situations where someone has a serious disciplinary case and they'll talk to a grievance team member and they're not as forthcoming there. There is some mistrust there. And then I'll start getting a little bit more about what's going on in their circumstance or what happened with why they're being called in for whatever reason. And I'll get more details. So there is that little bit of a disconnect between the office and someone talking to the DEBM. And I think it's because they know you.
Yeah.
So it's obviously the duty of the DEBM to make that member understand or try explaining that it's important for us to have all the facts about something that has happened, because it's the best way to represent them.
Yeah.
If we don't have all the information, then it's possible that we'll be caught off guard. And it's not the best outcome when we don't have all the data surrounding something that happened.
Yeah. And I think, when it comes to labor in general, like I think it's growing the trust with people that you can actually talk to or see on a regular basis. I think that's a big part of it, right? And the grievance, like again, like I don't want to take anything away from the grievance team. They do a great job. But it is just like they're on the other end of the phone and a flight attendant is freaking out because they feel like they've made a mistake. So having, really growing that trust in your base, like you all have done and done a really good job at, I think that really means so much to our members, that they really feel like there's someone they can reach out to that they know and trust.
Sure. And you said something earlier about somebody will say, "Oh, the union," but it's, we are the union. Or they'll speak to me and they'll say, "I don't really trust the union, but I trust you." No, I'm also the union. You're the union also.
Right. Yeah. Like putting the face to it, like putting the face to the union, like I think is such an important job of like part of what you guys do.
Yeah. Well, and I think like, especially for those that are hesitant or anxious about calling us, every conversation we have is confidential. We're not going to go spread stories around the base. Like if we were doing that, we would have never gotten elected in the first place. So anything that they do tell us is confidential. We're not going to go tell management. We're not going to tell the other flight attendants. They can talk to us in confidence and we can advise them, because like Edward said, the more we know, the better we're able to advise somebody on, well, you really should probably look at this avenue or that one, depending on what they have going on. And so if we don't know everything, it can end up in a less than favorable outcome.
Yeah. Gotcha. And so you mentioned, elected, so these are elected positions, like Kristie said, it's elected every 3 years. So the elected part of a DEBM's position, right? Going to boards every month and voting on that. And I know, I don't think I'm speaking out of school when sometimes I say that's maybe some people's least favorite part of being a DEBM. I think helping the members is what everyone really enjoys, and speaking with members, and boards can be a little stressful. But do you guys want to talk a little bit about what that looks like, being in the boardroom, representing your base, making decisions? Like what does that look and feel like? So Kristie, you've been doing it the longest. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, every term brings a different set of circumstances, different personalities. If we all agreed all the time, we wouldn't get anything done. We're the voice of the membership. So there's going to be differences of opinions. We're going to vote differently than others. It's just important to understand what your membership, the overall direction they want you to take. And that comes from communicating. Some bases, are different than other bases.
Yep.
So you will have a totally different viewpoint from Oakland than you would from Dallas. So the dynamic in the boardroom can get heated. I'm not going to lie, you have to have thick skin to sit on the board, but we've got to remember that we're all there for the same reason, and that's, to unify ourselves and stand strong against injustices that occur, holding management accountable to our CBA. There's so much that we deal with in the boardroom, and it's a critical part of how we end up with what we end up, our quality of life issues. So I'll continue to do it as long as I can.
Right. Patrick, do you have any thoughts on?
Well, another thing too that we've come across in the boardroom is something may start in Oakland. There may be like a disciplinary trend, and it'll start in Oakland. Eventually, it's coming to Orlando, and so we're able to kind of get ahead of some things, or some of the stuff with the state leaves. Like, hey, the company's doing this with the California leave. They're going to start doing it in Colorado, or try to, and so as individual bases, we're able to kind of come together and bring up issues in the boardroom that may not necessarily affect us today, but it's going to come for our base at some point. And so there are things that we can get ahead of, or I can help Kristie get ahead of if it starts in Orlando and starts its way west. And so it can be very helpful. It can be very stressful. I mean, like Kristie said, it's not always unicorns and rainbows in there. It can get kind of heated. But I think at the end of the day, we all are there for the same reason, and that's to help the membership and move things forward.
Yeah.
We may have different avenues of wanting to do that, but at the end of the day, the end goal is always the same.
Yeah, right. And Edward,
Yeah, so Patrick was saying about how one base can have certain issues that will happen in another base. The same thing happened with the WDA language. It's very complicated, and the implementation is very complicated. Who is protected with it? Texas and Florida suffer from a lot of natural disasters. So when I got hit, my city got hit by hurricanes and an ice storm and a flooding, and I don't remember what else, a fire probably. I dealt with WDA a lot.
Yeah. And WDA
is, what's that?
And WDA is?
Oh, WDA it's basically the protection we have for weather and natural disaster absence, and it's an excusal from a no-show or UTC that can be replaced by something that's not that won't count against you as a strike. You'll still be able to record improve. It's absolutely a wonderful part of our contract. But after I dealt with a lot of WDA issues, Patrick called me and he says, "Hey, there's a hurricane coming my way. It's my turn." And that relationship with other DEBMs are also very, very practical and very useful. We work together a lot. We meet often. Besides meeting at boardrooms where we're required, we also have our little side meetings where we talk about issues.
Yeah.
And we learn from them together.
Yeah. And I think all this is important because, like Kristie, like you said, like one base may feel very different about an issue than another base. So, and you have to advocate for your members, right? But the greater thing is always working together and figuring out a way forward, right? So even if you're total polar opposite on one issue, it's still like finding a way through that so everyone can still work together and serve the members, ultimately the best we can, right? So yeah. And like I said, you guys all do really good job of that. What's the most rewarding part about the job?
Well, for me, it's about service to others. And I think with this job, you have to have a personality for that. But my reward is, I initially started doing fact-finding meetings, and I still do fact-finding meetings to this day. But any issue that I deal with a flight attendant that is in distress, maybe losing their job, something is very critical going on. If we can come out on the other side of it, there is such a feeling of relief. And not only the flight attendant feels it, I feel it, an accomplishment of actually making a difference. So I truly think all of us have that service attitude that we're in it to serve others because, it's an honor to be elected. And it's humbling at times. So that's what it is for me primarily.
Yeah. Gotcha. Patrick?
No, I agree. It's for me, it's being able to help the individuals that really need it, because there are situations, things that come up, and people need someone to be in their corner. And so to get to be that person for someone, I don't know if there's a better feeling at all.
Yeah.
There were times Kristie and we had a crew one time that was terminated for leaving a plane in New Orleans, and together we were able to help them keep their jobs and their careers. So they're still here because of the work Kristie and I did.
Yeah.
And to know that I was able to help somebody like that, because if that's actually how I got involved in union work, is I had a flight attendant that was not a big Patrick fan, and it caused a lot of headache. And so, but I went through the fact-finding process, and I had a union rep with me, and just the comfort of knowing that person was sitting there. They didn't do a whole lot. They didn't have to, but just the fact that I was not in that room alone made a huge difference. And so knowing that no flight attendant has to be alone because I can be there, that for me is very rewarding.
Yeah. Gotcha. Edward?
Just to add to what Patrick is saying, it is very rewarding. I think Kristie called it humbling also. I do agree with that 100%. Finding a way to resolve someone's issue is the best feeling in the world. You can resolve everybody.
Yeah.
You won't be able to get a perfect resolution for everybody, but when you do, it feels great. It feels great. When you look at the bylaws on what the duties of a DEBM is or are, we don't get a lot of information, right? So you have to evolve into that role. And with being a leader in your base, you find that you can help people outside of contractual issues because you represent them in a base that has a lot more factors. So you build relationships not with your base leaders, but you also, you build them with your station manager, chief pilot, the parking management. You get relationships with the TSA director. And for example, I want to say last month when the shutdown was affecting so many TSA agents, it caused long lines. KCMs were being shut down. And having that relationship allowed a solution where an employee lane could be open so people could go forward to their assignments without KCM. And it's great that you're able to resolve things when you represent the people in your base.
Yeah. And so it sounds like, especially like Kristie and Patrick, like you guys got involved like on the shop steward level, and then Patrick, you had a shop steward on that level. So when people are wanting to get involved, like new people, what's the best way for the DEBM to assist those people that are kind of looking at all this and thinking, well, maybe I want to get involved in my union and kind of see what's going on? Like, what do you think is a good way for that person to get the ball rolling there? Edward, we'll start with Edward.
Oh, sure. I mean, just call me, just text me.
Yeah.
I would love to help. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of voices that need to be heard, and a lot of opportunities to have mobilizations to give information on all these different types of outreach programs that we have. We just recently had a Pride event, but we also have events for working women's. We have events for backpack drives. We have events for veterans. So all this information is there. We just need people to help distribute it. And then of course we have challenges, contractual challenges. We have issues this past year when it came to overhead bins, with the process of assigned seating. All those issues sometimes require educational campaigns that go beyond social media. We actually have to have people in the lounge, and if people want to help with that, I would welcome it.
Yeah, gotcha. Patrick?
I would say reach out to us and let us know what interests you, because not everyone wants to do a fact finding or wants to educate or wants to go do a lounge mobilization. They're all different areas that they can go to be involved. And so just reach out to us, let us know, and we can kind of point you in the right, like, email the education committee or email mob.org or email the shop steward committee, and we can kind of point them in the direction to where they're going to get to do the work that they're passionate about.
Right.
Because nobody wants to do stuff that they don't care about. That they want to. Everyone has kind of their niche and what they're good at, and so we want everyone to succeed and be involved. Especially, I mean, the more people that are involved, the better. I think we all do better when we all row in the same direction. And so, just let us know that you want to do something and what you want to do, and all of us are more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Gotcha. Kristie, how can new people get involved
Well,
with you?
I mean, they both said it. They covered it. I have people call me and say, I want to do union work. I want to get involved. And I ask them, what are you interested in doing? And I steer them in that direction. For me personally, it was becoming a shop steward initially. And then when BR became domicile rep, he kind of used me to help him out, and I got a taste of that role. So it can evolve from as simple as doing some volunteer work, maybe helping with the lounge mobilization, into finding out that you have other passions and you want to help in other areas.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I think that's probably a pretty good place to wrap up. Do you guys have any final thoughts about anything to do with our union? Kristie, any thoughts?
Oh my gosh, final thoughts.
Yeah.
I just know that social media, it plays a role in a lot of what goes on. I just encourage people, a lot of what you read on social media may be partially true. It may be 100% true, or it can be completely false. So reach out to your DEBM to find out, what the answer is. And, we don't always have the answer, but we will find it. We will get you an answer. I think it's important to remember that you have to actually be sitting in the boardroom to know what is really going on. And because social media can evolve into this horrible perception of things that really aren't happening. So that would be my suggestion.
Yeah. I think it goes back to that trust factor, reach out, me, I've flown with you, reach out to me.
Absolutely.
And goes back to that. Patrick, any final thoughts?
There's Edward kind of touched on it earlier. There's a big perception of I'm a flight attendant and that's the union.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. We're all members of this union. We all have a duty that we owe to the union, whether that be in an elected role as a shop steward or just being an educated member. Know your contract, know your work rules, and you can avoid a lot of hiccups and issues where you don't have to call us necessarily. And also, a lot of people think that the union only deals with the company on discipline stuff. If you have a personal issue that work is kind of getting in the way of, if we're able to, we would love to help. Much like Edward said, we help with stuff outside of the contract. And so don't be afraid to reach out if you need more than just, hey, I got a no-show, I don't know what to do. If you need actual help, we're there for any of it, honestly, not just contract stuff.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of questions that I know come into DEBMs that aren't necessarily contract related and more kind of fall into our EAP, our employee assistance programs that I know DEBMs are big on helping with, for sure. Yeah. Edward, any final thoughts?
I'm not sure there's anything else, but you mentioned the EAP thing. I think that's wonderful. We have wonderful resources about that. And if someone doesn't know where to find those answers, we will know at least where to point them. We have professional standards when there's a disagreement. They work wonderfully with conflicts, not only between crew, but with crew and pilots. We have our Clear Skies program where somebody can get help, but we also have CISM, which are other flight attendants that understand what it's like to deal with impactful things. So it's a good start to start with your DEBM if you don't know where to look, because we will.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thanks everyone so much. Thanks for the jobs that you do, taking care of our members, and thanks for the conversation. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
All right. So now that we've talked about the business, for a little fun, What's everyone's favorite? Do you have a favorite overnight or a favorite hotel or a really good overnight story? Anything like that? Kristie?
Oh, this is not going to be popular, but I have a favorite hotel,
Uh-huh.
and it's Midland.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The Elegante?
It's the Elegante.
You're the only
Yeah,
one.
I'm a Texas girl, and I love the Elegante. I've got massages there.
Mhm.
My husband builds hotels for a living, so he's built properties in Midland. So it's been great. They have a great steak tip. Their steak tips, their buffet.
Mhm.
They have that little cocktail lounge you can go hang out in.
Yeah.
I've had some fun overnights in Midland, and their rooms are cold.
Mhm.
Their beds are comfortable.
Yeah.
So that would be my
I'm going to echo
favorite.
what
I know.
I don't know if it's my favorite, but I'll definitely echo that it's not like the bad overnight that like new hires think it is. Because I remember, and it's probably still like this, like on a Tuesday night, the whole town shows up to that hotel because there's not
The
much else to do.
karaoke.
And the karaoke, and you feel like such a VIP walking by with your crew badge of these people that are dressed to the nines. Yeah, I've definitely had some fun nights in Midland.
Yeah.
But yeah, Patrick.
Probably my favorite overnight story. I was brand new and I had a long Boston overnight, and I've been a Red Sox fan my entire life. And so I told myself, because we had our schedule ahead of time, I said, when I go to Boston, I'm going to see Fenway. I want to go to Red Sox game.
Mhm.
So by the time I figured out the trains and got myself down there, it was late in the game, like the 7th or 8th inning. And a guy just handed me a ticket. I had to pay to get in. And so I walked in and I got to watch Boston hit 2 back-to-back home runs to walk-off win in the 10th inning.
Oh, cool.
And so that was my very first experience at Fenway or at a Red Sox game, like in person.
Mhm.
And it's a cool thing we get to do. Like the fact that I can go to Boston and get paid to be there and go to a Red Sox game, or go to Midland and get a massage and eat steak. It's something that I think a lot of us kind of take for granted, or we forget that because it's our normal, that not everybody gets to do that.
Right.
And so that's definitely probably one of my favorite overnights was just that game.
Yeah. Edward, you got one?
I hate to be cliche, but I like Punta Cana. I like the all-inclusive. I like the beach. When I was younger, I would love leaving the hotel, sightseeing, museums. I'll see the St. Louis Arch. I'd go see the Statue of Liberty. I take the trains. And now I don't like leaving the hotel, So for me, it's more important that I have a long layover with good food.
Yeah.
And that's it. A cold room, like Kristie said, a nice bed. That's all I need.
Yeah.
I like hotels that offer that. I like the Florida hotels are nice. The California hotels are nice.
Mhm.
And I guess I should. This probably is not the right place to say which hotels I avoid, so I won't do that.
We'll try and get rid of the hotels you avoid. But yeah, it is funny how like the seasons of the job kind of take you to different places and make you like, different things. I definitely, had my era where I like to take the train and get out there with the crew, but now like a comfy hotel is definitely like, yeah.
Well, what's your favorite?
Well, so being Oakland, I'm never going to pass up a Hawaii. Like those are probably my go-tos now.
Yeah, I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Well, and all the new cities we've added too, that
I
like
know.
for a long time that was so far off your radar, and then now you get to go out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's pretty nice. When I got hired at Southwest, it's kind of crazy. So I got hired on the ramp, and in the first day of the job, they said, these are 2 things that you can bet on. We're never going to fight the Wright Amendment, and we're never going to fly to Hawaii. That's just not ever going to be with Southwest. And then here we are, the Wright Amendment's basically gone. We're probably going to fly into DFW at some point, and we're like making Hawaii a huge part of the business model. It's just
Never say never.
yeah, crazy. Like seasons of the job. It's just kind of this. You never know what's going to happen next, right? But yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.